What's up, guys? So it's me, Christian Rodriguez, and today I wanted to talk about AI. I wanted to talk about the three levels of AI that's going on and stuff that will benefit you and your business, right? Because I get it. AI, it's all over the internet. People are talking about it, including myself right now. But yeah, a lot of people talk about it, and I also think a lot of business owners don't exactly understand what to do with AI, right? They don't understand it. They hear it, they know that it's something they probably should put into their business, but I don't think there's a real like understanding behind it, which is the confusing part, right? Even myself, right? I've learned tools, but I don't know all the tools, right? And there's always some new tool coming up that's coming up on the internet, right? And I haven't been looking at them because I'm not trying to sell myself short. I'm not trying to overextend myself and try to learn 100 tools. I'd rather get good at one tool or two tools, right? And the point, right? Because the point I'm trying to make is I know most people when they use AI, they use it like you know how you use Google search, right? Uh who who won the who won the 1994 World Series, right? Or 98 World Series, right? Whatever it is, and you get an answer. That's how people use AI. Or can you write me this email? Right? And that's fine. You can use it for that stuff. But there's so much more you can use it for. You can use it for your business. You can use it to make you money. Right? That's the thing. That's the best part about AI is that you can use it to make you money. And that's the thing that business owners need to, really understand. And I think this is why I created this video. And so think of AI in three levels, right? So level one is the basic language models, and that's the stuff you're familiar with, like OpenAI, ChatGPT, um, Grok, Gemini, Claude. You ask it a basic question, and it does something for you. Obviously, there's a lot more it can do, but that's just an example of it. The language models, I use those all the time. I pay for my ChatGPT, and something that I do to make it more effective. Now I use ChatGPT for everything in my life. I don't just use it for small things, right? I use it for just about everything, right? So I use it for fitness, I use it for business, I use it for tracking my macros. I use it for even like self-improvement stuff, like other personal hobbies, projects. That's what I use it for, even social media. But yeah, it's there's a lot you can leverage it with, and a way that a way that you can use it effectively, right? Because if you do not tell AI how to work with you, it's going to give you a bunch of jargon. It's going to give you a bunch of garbage like AI jargon. So you need to like give it the right direction to go to, right? So the way I do it. Now, I'm not going to describe the master prompt because it's too long, but basically you have to set up some sort of master prompt before when you start a conversation, right? And the master prompt is super important, right? You're just going to tell it like what what goals you're working towards, right? You're going to tell it what goals you're working towards. Maybe you want to tell it a milestone goal as well. Now, what I recommend you do, actually, instead of just taking what I say from word of mouth, I want you to go to ChatGPT and just type, "Hey ChatGPT, help me set up a master prompt. I want to set up a master prompt." ChatGPT is going to ask you a bunch of questions. You're going to answer them as honest as possible, and it's going to create a master prompt for you. You're going to have to invest some time. Maybe you might have to invest 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes because you're going to keep editing it. But basically, you're going to say it about like a brief background on you, your goals, what you do, and it's going to set up a master prompt based on that, right? And then you're going to save it as a PDF. So you're going to tell ChatGPT to make it as a PDF for you. You're going to save it onto your computer. And the way that works is because you have the PDF that's set on for ChatGPT. You have the PDF. Now you could save it on your computer, and now you could use it with all the language models. and every time you start a new conversation in AI, you can automatically just copy and paste that PDF, the words from that PDF into any language model that you use. So that's great. And then for each conversation that you have with the AI, you want to give it some sort of role, because if you don't give it a role, it's not going to give you the information that you want. It's not going to give you exactly like what you need. So if you're doing say you're creating content, right? Say you're creating content on LinkedIn, right? Something that you probably want to focus on is setting up something on, maybe tell ChatGPT, right? Your role is to be a LinkedIn post social media expert, right? Something like that. And now it's going to think in the lens of LinkedIn social media expert. You could even ask it, something that I do is be my business coach in this conversation, right? Or be be my fitness advisor. You could give it like, you could give it roles like that, but it works better when you give it roles like that because it's going to think in the lens of those roles. So, yeah. So think of master prompt, which is the main thing. So it understands who you are, your background, and what you're striving for. And then the system prompt is the role of the conversation of the AI language model, right? And num- level two, the second level is automation. And automation is what I focus on. It's something that I focus on. If you've heard of N8N, Make, Zapier, that's what they do. They're automations for businesses to streamline things. And I don't think people understand what I mean by that. So I'm gonna make it super simple, right? And what I focus on, right? So I focus on helping plumbers uh, solve their slow follow up issue, right? Because many plumbers are busy, or they're at the job, or maybe their team member is sick, right? Maybe the receptionist already went home, but someone called. Instead of waiting an hour to follow up with them, or waiting a day, right? Why not just have AI automatically follow up for you, right? And that's, you set up an automation that whenever there's a missed call or there's a form that was filled out, the AI, the automation automatically does the follow up for you, right? So you don't lose that customer, but you keep working on your job. And it makes sense, because the thing about automations is it works when you're not working. It works when you're asleep. It works about it works 24 hours, 7 days a week. Doesn't bitch or complain about that you don't pay it enough. It doesn't complain that it's that it's unfair how much you make it work. Like it just does what you program it to do. So that's the best part about automation. That's just an example of it. You can also use it for onboarding. You can use it for client management. You can use it for, I mean, project management. Apologies. You use it for project management. I know people use it for booking appointments, right? You can use it for a lot of things, right? And that's the best part about automations. And obviously, I focus on the automation space, so it's something that I have an understanding of, right? It's something I'm focused on, and yeah, that's a very good way of thinking about it, right? It's I do think automations are what the internet was, or the websites were for businesses 20 years ago. So when websites first came out for businesses, right? Businesses didn't really understand websites. They didn't trust it. They thought it was something that's unnecessary and their business works fine. It's like, yeah, that's fine. But then when people started getting websites, and it's gone to the point that everyone has a website and you're expected to have a website, right? If you're a business owner. And that's how automations are going to be like. Automations are going to be that part that if you don't get it now, you're going to end up getting it 5, 10 years from now when your competitors have it. Because your competitors are going to be better at setting up automations. They're going to get the small things taken care of, right? They're going to be able to convert new leads because they are able to follow up with them faster, right? Because leads, they love speed, and automations takes care of that speed for you. I'm going to give you a story actually. So, my business coach, right? He set up automations to his business, and he told me that he had this one person in his program, right? And they couldn't continue with the work, so they stopped. They stopped the service, but he had an automation in place that contacted her, right? And it was, it wouldn't spam her, but it was like contact it was sending an email to her maybe once every month or every couple of weeks. Like occasionally it was send like an email like updating or telling her about the service or the company, right? And for like 5 years they completely ignored him, right? Like she completely ignored him. But then there was one day she dropped $10,000 on his service. So he made $10,000 because he had automations. And even he admitted to me, he said if it wasn't for the automations and if it was up to him to send emails, he would have given up a long time ago. And you see, that's the point. That's the power of the automation. He made an extra $10,000 just because the automation kept sending the email to her, to the lead that he had, right? He kept sending it. It kept sending her an email, so so in her mind, his service was at the top of her mind, and that was able to work out from there. And yeah, that's one of them, right? And I would say the third thing is the agentic AI, right? So that's agents. Um, Now, agents is something that is kind of I've experimented with agents, like I've used them on N8N. It's not something that I completely focus on. There's definitely a lot of things I don't know about it, but at least based on what I've understood from it, it's basically like another executive. It's basically like your assistant that does the work for you. Maybe it can book appointments for you, right? It can have a conversation with a a customer, right? And then the customer can it can have a conversation. Hey, can let's book an appointment for our business meeting on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Central Time, Chicago time, right? Or you just say at 6 p.m., right? And the agent is going to be able to process it because you gave it its own brain, and you also connected it to AI, and it has its own prompt, and now it's able to communicate with the client, right, for you while you're not there, through via text as an LLM, and it's able to book the appointment for Tuesday at 6 p.m. or 5, whatever I just said, right? It's gonna be able to book it to whatever time the client and you agree to, right, through the agent, right? That maybe the agent sees what time is available in your calendar, and it uses that time in your calendar to book the appointment, right? And that's just one example of why an agent is so great. It's so powerful. And that's just a small example of it, because there's definitely a lot more you can do with the agent that I'm not even talking about, that I'm probably not even thinking about. But there's a lot of potential when it comes to having an agent work, having an agent for your business. And the thing is, every business at some point is going to have an agent. I just know it's going to be the case. Now, most businesses don't have it, but there's going to be a point, maybe 5, 10 years from now, that every business is going to have it. Just like automations, agents are next, and they're very useful. Um, Businesses use them because, on top of the follow up part of it, agents are that on steroids, right? So that's the great part about it. That's the exciting thing. That's why you need to be excited. And you need to really think about this for your business. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to keep creating more content. Subscribe and take care.